Okay, it'd be great to start with a little bit of background to the launch of the new partner program. I suppose what prompted it, and how it was created. What was the process?
Yeah, it's been such an exciting few months for us over here at Omnissa. Just to remind everyone, we first became an independent company just back in July of last year, so July 1st, 2024. And one of the biggest opportunities we had ahead of us as we went through this process of being an independent company was to revamp and reimagine our partner program. We were part of a larger, more infrastructure-oriented organization prior to that. And so this gave us an opportunity to truly focus on the business and the customers that we serve. So that was the motivation. We wanted to make sure it was tailor-made, that it was clear and simple, and that it was focused 100% on the digital workspace market together with our partners. So that was the impetus behind it. Been hard at work since last year, and then we announced it on March 24th. So extremely excited about that.
Okay, yeah, and we'll drill down into the individual sort of components in a moment, but I guess it'd be good to understand maybe on the sort of high level, the benefits overall it's bringing to your partners. And now, as you say, you've worked on it and it's out there.
Yeah. So from a partner perspective, one of the biggest things is simplicity and focus. We've simplified in a few areas. We've simplified the tiering for the partners. So it's very easy for them to understand how to progress through the program. Many times, the goals are not very clear. So in this case, 3 simple tiers, and based on their performance in terms of new and expansion bookings, there's a clear progression. So again, not complicated, very easy for them to understand. Also simplified a lot of the incentive structure. So truly thinking about aligning it to the solutions and the value that customers get. So we simplified a lot of those incentives and the benefits, especially as the partners progress through the tiers. Another big thing is also the certifications. Earlier, our partners, because they were not just partners for us as part of digital workspace solutions, they were partners for our larger company, right? And so the complexity around certifications held them back sometimes in terms of engaging with us in a much wider and deeper way. So we've simplified those trainings and certification requirements as well. So those were some of the immediate benefits that partners have is they can now focus. They know we are committed to them. We're delivering customer value together. We're invested in their training, and we're invested in their growth and profitability.
Okay, and in terms of those 3 streamlined partner levels, can you just give us an idea of what each of those incorporates for folks? Yeah.
Yeah. So the 3 partner levels, just silver, gold, platinum. Of course, partners can enroll. We took our entire partner ecosystem with us as we carved out. Now what our partners, since the launch of the program are seeing is they are falling within one of these 3 tiers. And where they fall, silver, gold, or platinum, really is determined by their bookings with us, their new and expansion bookings. So how much business have they been driving? So again, as the partners, if you're a silver partner, it's very easy to understand. If you hit an extended bookings target, you progress to gold, and so on to platinum. So that's one of those things. So again, just silver, gold, platinum, very easy for partners to know. They all have a starting point, and then they know how to get to the next point. So those are the 3 tiers that we talked about in the program.
Okay, and I think you also mentioned 3, I don't think you've referred to it yet, but the 3 simplified business models. So what does that involve?
Yeah. So we also did, simplify. We had many different ways and routes to market. Again, we've been a business that have been servicing the digital workspace for almost 20 years. And so we've had many different routes to market, and we simplified those into three categories. The first one is, what we call our solution aggregator. And this is, again, at a scale level where we have partners who, distributors, aggregators, who are able to scale their business, our business, supporting resellers in a really broad way globally. The second tier, or the second business model, I should say, is service provider. And the service provider ranges anywhere from a telco, a carrier who is providing, solutions to their customers, taking our technology, or service providers, true, managed service providers, where they are implementing the solution, supporting the solution, doing that entire value proposition for their customers. So the service provider business model is a little broader because it has, anyone who provides provides an Omnissa service to their end customers. And the third business model is technology providers. And, one of the things, or the beauties of why we are unique is the fact that we have a platform approach to our solutions, which means we can integrate with other technology providers to deliver that complete customer value depending upon the customer's environment, their unique needs, and so on and so forth. So our technology solution providers partner with us, open APIs, deeper integrations, and so on. We announced a couple of these partnerships with iGel and CrowdStrike, for example. And together, we can deliver a richer value proposition to our customers. So those are the three business models, the distributor aggregator, the service provider, and the technology solutions provider.
Okay, and in terms of, you already referenced sort of incentives, benefits, etc., and the bit about the, I think, training and certification, are those sort of universally everything available to everyone, or does it slightly vary as to where you are in the partner level as to what access you get to some of these? Just give us some idea of how that works if you can.
Yeah. So, one of the big things, again, we wanted to reduce the complexity. So our goal is to make sure our partners understand the best of our technology and our solutions and are able to then take that value proposition to customers. So it's available to everybody across the world. The progression is based on performance, but the certifications are available to them. So whether you are taking an introductory, or you have a salesperson in the partner organization versus a more of a technical implementation talent, or a service, where you are running a managed service and you're a services professional. We have different types of training, but they're available to all, so that we want to encourage partners to take advantage of it, to not just, progress through the tiers, but that progression means their own business is growing, right? And it's growing a lot more profitably. On the incentive side, just quickly to update, there we did increase the front end margins. So we want to make it a lot more profitable for partners. So, our margins were aligned to our products or other product brands in the past. And now we have aligned them to the tiers. So, you get better margins as you move up the tiers. So that's the only difference. Your margin varies as you move up the tiers because obviously you're driving more business. But we want to make sure the trainings are available to all.
Okay, and also I believe you've got I'm not sure you've introduced it yet, but there's a planned intuitive dashboard. So I don't know if you can share the details of what that's going to bring when it arrives.
Yeah. So one of the things, principles we have is how do we make sure that a lot of our go-to-market, our engagements with our customers are a lot more data-driven. What that means is, we look at our business through a metrics lens, but also make decisions, investment decisions, what campaigns to run, what is my customer installing, what are they entitled to, how much is the adoption, because you can make smarter selling decisions based on that. The goal is to not just have the customer adopt the product, but you want them to love it, and then you want them to renew, right? So really thinking about that full customer life cycle. So we are investing in that for our own sales team so that they have that insight and they can be a lot more data driven in their approach. And similarly, we want to extend that to partners. We're just at the beginning of this process right now. As you can imagine, for a company that's recently been carved out, we haven't finished it. We are definitely, I would say, over the hump in terms of redesigning our systems. In fact, we had this unique opportunity to redesign our systems from scratch, which is very unusual for a company our size, with the install base of customers and partners we have to do that. So we are taking a much more outside-in approach to say what would be valuable to our partners, what information would be valuable to them, how can we provide a friction-free experience, whether they are registering deals, applying for incentives and rewards, and what kind of information would they need to see so they can be much more efficient in their selling journey. So that's the goal of these dashboards, and working with the teams, we've built a roadmap around them, and so we'll see this evolution happen over the next few months. So very excited to see how that comes to fruition.
And in terms of sort of comparing the new program to what was in place previously, I'm guessing you've potentially retired some elements, and also just be interested to know whether existing certification and incentives are sort of just being transferred wholesale, or if something different's going on. Just what you can tell us there.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of nailed it, right? I mean, a lot of the things that the partners were experiencing in the past, I mean, honestly, there was even a more fundamental thing, which is we weren't able to onboard even a partner. If we wanted to bring a new partner into our ecosystem, the barrier to entry was so high because the criteria was set for an infrastructure perpetual software type of company, right? So the barrier to entry was sometimes not worth their time, right? Because the market is growing, partners have priorities. Of course, despite that, we have a very rich and very robust partner ecosystem that was part of our digital workspace market. They continued with us, they continue forward, right? Even post becoming an independent company. So we wanted to reduce those barriers. We wanted to make sure that the certifications and the trainings and the requirements are, again, just, it's very clear what is needed. So it's bookings, right? You drive business, we drive business, we both succeed, but with a singular goal, which is delivering maximum customer value. So at the end of the day, if we can do that, and we can make it easy for them to even join our program, even get onboarded to our program, then they can spend more time focusing on selling, meeting the needs of their customers, than sort of operational, and just process and program complexity. So that is one of the things we simplified. And along with that came the requirement from a certification perspective. We saw there were partners who were experts in one area of our technology, those who were experts in another area of our technology. And while we do want partners to embrace the full breadth of the platform, each partner has their journey. So we didn't want to penalize them because of where they're starting or where they're choosing to focus. So we wanted to make it easy. And so requiring, or rather removing the requirements for some of those certifications and making that path a lot more organically aligned to the partner's growth was the other change that we made. And then again, just for them to understand, what the goals are, what the objectives are together with Omnissa, right? Versus sort of one part of a bigger company, automatically remove some of that burden and complexity. And just in the conversations we have with partners, it's a lot more focused now than it was in the past.
And I suspect this next question, you've probably answered most of it, but I'll ask it anyway. Just be good to understand how your program differs from the VMware Partner Program. So tell us what you can.
Yeah. So, and again, the VMware Partner Program has evolved, as many of the listeners would probably be aware, right? Since the acquisition, their program has evolved. But again, the VMware Partner Program was was sort of trying to meet the needs of multiple different businesses. And each different business, whether it was security or hybrid cloud or networking or digital workspace, each has different requirements. And so it got optimized, unfortunately, for the least common denominator, right? Because how do you design something for unique goals? The company was still largely perpetual on-premises software. Our business, the end-user computing business, we were known inside of VMware. We were already, on our way to moving to subscription and SaaS. Our software could be delivered from the cloud. We were cloud agnostic. So there were a lot of things that didn't fully align to the customer's journey, their life cycle, how they see value, how they buy products. And so that was a big disconnect, right? So the program, therefore, was not aligned to the customer's expectation of the buying cycle and the value proposition. So our partners had to kind of force fit in some way. And so the incentives were therefore also aligned to that, least common denominator versus what was needed from a digital workspace. So if, for example, if we were very interested in growth, right, we could not change our program or our incentives as easily to reward that. We kind of had to comply with whatever was designed for the company, right? And if another company was focused post-sales and adoption, then, we couldn't do things we needed to do to optimize for our business. So those were some of the changes. The other thing, one last thing I'll say is, a lot of the certifications were just didn't keep up because our space is constantly evolving. The challenges are evolving, the technology is evolving, there's just a lot happening. So there was a need to keep our certifications up to date, current, so that our partners were having the latest and greatest conversation as well. And it was just harder to do that in a big company because those teams were so dispersed and separate from us. So again, by having it all now be part of one business with one vision, one mission, right, has just removed all of that extraneous, I would say, noise and complexity so we can focus better.
Yeah, and I suppose it'd be obvious question to ask you then, how do you see the new partner program helping you to grow the business? And then you say, I think you launched it back end of March, so you've had a month or so. What's the feedback been, since then as well? It'd be good to understand.
The feedback has been really rewarding, to be honest. It's been change. So I do want to first acknowledge that it has been a year and a half of confusion for partners, first not knowing what's happening to our business, then not knowing what we plan to do it. But partners have stuck through with us. And it's also because we've kept the dialogue open with our partners, right? We have been listening to them. We've been getting their feedback. We, get their input. So they've been very receptive because you get to together be part of this new thing, right? And so they're very invested. So the feedback has been very positive. They appreciate the simplicity. Of course, they want more. And a lot of that more comes from us just finishing out our systems build out. We have not yet done with building out our systems to the level of operational simplicity that is in our plans. It's just we are in that process of finishing up the work. So they would love us to go faster. I would love us to go faster. But the good news is, so far it's been, it continues to be a fantastic alignment and feedback from our partners.
Okay, and maybe just, you alluded there a little bit to the work still left to do, but just be good to understand the company roadmap. Obviously, you've got the various solutions which folks are, I think, pretty familiar with. But so I don't know whether you plan to continue to evolve those, anything new, just anything you can share as to what we might expect from you from the rest of the year and maybe a bit further.
Yeah. One of the biggest strengths and differentiators we have has been our innovation strategy. Our innovation strategy, is really anchored on the vision we set out over 2 years ago around autonomous workspace. So recognizing that this entire environment is getting a lot more complex, we need to provide a workspace that can be managed, secured, in a more autonomous fashion. This was even before the whole AI thing happened. So we had kind of talked about that vision. And since then, we've been delivering on that. And all our solutions are anchored in sort of 4 areas. So innovations around our virtual desktops and infrastructure, area of solutions. So lots of exciting technology that you'll see us talk around simplifying application management. It's a big problem statement. There's practices around this. So how do we provide a better, simpler, more cost-effective way, more secure way to do that? Another area is around just, our endpoint management, extending that to servers as well, Windows servers. So lots of innovations in there. Digital employee experience is our 3rd pillar from a solution perspective. We continue to enrich that, making it easier for IT admins to manage their employees' experience proactively to reduce the number of help desk tickets. So, continued innovations there. And then finally, in the area of security as well, you'll see us announce some, the CrowdStrike partnership was one of those that we announced, and then, there'll be more to come. But all of this is also anchored in the platform services we provide. And one of them I'll call out is our continued innovation around agentic AI. We launched an early version called Omni. It's how do you make it easy for the IT admins who are managing this very complex, constantly changing digital workspace environment with assistance, AI assistance, AI-based assistance. How can they get the right kind of alerts, that tell them something is wrong, something is off, is it a security breach, what have you, that they have to respond to? What kind of guidance or advice they can get in terms of what steps to take to remediate? And then finally, fully be autonomous, right? I don't think anyone's going to just press the button and say, solve it for me, and I'm just going to sit back with my cup of tea. But the goal is to get it to that, because we understand the complexity is increasing, but the resources are not increasing at that same scale. So you have to do more with less. So those are some of the areas of innovation that our partners can continue to expect to see from us. We continue to be the market leaders in these categories. So again, very excited. And we're not doing this because we think it's cool, but we're doing this because we truly see and understand the problem statements with our customers. So we think it's a tremendous opportunity for our partners to lean in to these solutions and offer them as well.
Okay, it's been great to chat, and thank you for explaining the new program, and also giving us a little bit of a sort of taster of what's to come as well. So Renu, really appreciate your time. Thanks very much.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.